A 13-10 and Winthrop, they take the win in that map number 1 against the odds, against the expectations, if anything, but they're able to close it out. Gompers, and you guys were talking about a couple of the different things we were seeing throughout the map, the extremities as well, the control, the deadlock as well being played by Turtle Troop, but something that I think is the key as well for that success to make sure that it really went the way of Winthrop was that they got the 2 pistols. You get the 2 pistols, that's 4 rounds. The rest of it was just a back and forth between the 2, and you already have a pretty good advantage.
No, and that's the thing too. Like, starting off for Winthrop strong is such a big, valuable moment, and I think they carry that along very, very well. It was a bit of a shaky turnout, starting off on the defense, especially for Winthrop, but I think, once it switched over to the attack, Infiltrator was able to shine. I saw a lot more coming out through from Noobs, especially on that fade, so it just felt like the team really started to mesh together even more.
And on the other side, Shift, we saw a Turtle Troop that started looking good. They get, I believe, 4 rounds in a row in the first half. It seems like they're going to get away with it. Sure, they get those 7 rounds, but after that, it was just a back and forth, as we talked about, and unable to close it out.
Yeah, and it's just, again, I think stylistically, things went a little bit opposite of where we expected them to be. And I just kind of figured off of the timeout that both teams had taken that they were going to try to adjust that. For Winthrop, talking about, can they play maybe a bit more aggressively with their initiators, not just giving away sites and defaulting to playing for retake, because as much as initiators can break down those post plants, it just didn't really feel like it was working. And then the other side, it's kind of the exact opposite. Troop was playing super far forward with a deadlock and a Viper. Yeah. And getting caught by all the infiltrator plays. So it's just a very bizarre round, and I think just generally speaking, you could kind of see that more represented in the post plants, but I think you hit it correctly, Dryad. It really is one of those things that you look at the 4 rounds of pistols, all of them, or the 4 rounds because of the pistol wins, all of them going towards Winthrop. That is the difference maker here, because you take those first 4 rounds out, first 2 from the first half, first 2 from the second half, and the breakdown is exactly the same. 3 defenses, 1, and then, you'd 6 offenses, 1 for each side. So it's just one of those situations that it really did feel like the pistols played a difference maker, but those post plants, they do reveal a little bit of, how and why this map kind of went the way it did as well.
And both of the teams, even though they were playing very different, especially when you had Infiltrator going in, playing aggressive, they also had some similar ideas when it came to the post plans, right? To leaving even on the defensive side for those retakes, Gompers, which we saw on both sides constantly.
Yeah, there was such a abuse of just playing for the retake, and I think at some point it really did start to fall apart, and honestly, it was the demise for both of these teams as to why they started losing these rounds. Winthrop, it started becoming a habit as where TTR knew they could abuse it, and honestly, vice versa. I definitely saw that happening. I think there was they have such a great team too, especially TTR. Like, they could have won this game, and they were so close to taking it down to that OT. But again, it was just the repetitiveness of consistently wanting to get these retakes in, and honestly being a bit afraid of Nasi. Nasi was crazy on the breach. I think his breach was honestly the main reason why there was so much fear created around keeping these sites.
And I do want to just at least say, I know it's easy to look at the bottom of the scoreboard here and point to the 7 and 20, but we still did find 13 total assists. So, the Viper was finding some value. It just was tough because he really never was in a position to stay alive long enough to, control a Viper's pit or anything of the nature. I think we only saw it once, maybe in the entire game. So it's just one of those things that you kind of look at the value there. That's not what you expect from a player like we did. And honestly, he had 3 of his 7 kills in round 2 of the game. So that's another instance where it's just you just don't expect that performance to continue to be there for we did, but it does highlight where some of the issues were. This more kind of static setup for Turtle Troop defensively just never worked out as I think they probably intended to on paper. So I'm just, again, a bit surprised they didn't try to adjust, later into that second half in particular.
And another one of those points that I really wanted to talk about was, I mentioned it earlier, right? How Corey, if he was going to be playing that main duelist, if they were going to not have a set main duelist for this team, and we kind of figure it out just with this map. It's a map that we didn't see before for Turtle Troop. They played this time around, and guess what? They had B-Dog on the Jet, and Corey was on the Brimstone, something that we actually have not ever seen. They kind of swapped, because if you think of last year, Shift, I know you remember this, it was B-Dog in a couple rounds or a couple maps playing with this Brimstone with an operator, very aggressive, very jet-like, and now they kind of switch what we expected, and it gives us a sign of what we're going to be potentially seeing throughout the season, right? Maybe some jet maps that is going to be B-Dog playing in those duelists, and then Corey, again, being that flex, willing to do anything for the team.
Yeah, and again, it's weird to highlight and kind of praise the success that these two had, considering it's coming in a map that they lost. But hey, you had 25-16 from Corey, and then you had a 6-3 first blood to first death ratio for B-Dog. So in terms of how they played their roles, super successful. I mean, it just wasn't one of those pop-off maps for B-Dog, and I think it is another one of those things, like you mentioned, his operator gameplay has kind of been a staple of what we come to expect, and it took until the last handful of rounds on the defensive side before we actually saw the Jet pull an operator out. So, this isn't going to be one you look back on and say, oh, B-Dog, not as good as we typically expect him to be. I think it's just one of those things that in their roles, they were successful. I think just as a macro team compositional sake, they didn't really play into their hand as well as they maybe could have, which led to, again, a difference of 3 rounds. I mean, we're really nitpicking here when we look at a difference of 13-10. So I think they both played well, and I think that is a positive beacon for things to come, especially with the next map coming out.
Yeah, with both players showing how flexible they can be. But now when you look at that next map, now that you're talking a little bit about it, I'm very interested to see how Infiltrator is going to play out, because this map, number 1, he was a key difference maker to make sure that it was going to go the way of Winthrop, even when things were looking even. We're looking 8-8. You don't know what way is going to go. It was Infiltrator getting those first kills and making sure, Gompers, that this map was going to be theirs.
No, they did an amazing job on the race, and it was like dire moments that I really did enjoy, whether it be on the eco round or just a round where they really aren't having that win condition, where you got to see Infiltrator saving that showstopper for such an important moment, and those were the conversions that they needed, and those are the conversions that they got. A lot of those eco rounds that possibly shouldn't have been won out, changing the game for Infiltrator, changing the game for Winthrop because of these key moment decisions, and I think that's the best part about why he was so good on this race and why I want to see absolutely more of this duelist on him.
Hey, guess what? You're going to, because we're going to Lotus and he's going to play Raze again. So there is a perfect setup for that. And looking back at when they did play up against SAT Esports, this was the upcoming map that they did take from SAT Esports when they played in week number 1. Yeah. And a lot of it was because Infiltrator was finding a ton of success. On top of that, Nasi again was all over the map. He expected to play Omen in this one, so expect to see Paranoia as be maybe the major muse towards entrance. But I think what we saw from Infiltrator, kind of being a self-starter and an individual creator, get to a map like Lotus, it's going to be that much more concentrated. So I think it's a very appropriate highlight, and very well could be another win condition for Winthrop to possibly get out of this series with a 2-0 win.
And they're looking pretty good. They have that possibility now that they take the first map. You look at the second one, and as you guys are saying, is Infiltrator on this race playing that standard composition that we initially saw last year from Fnatic with that fade, with the raise. That by itself is already such a good combo on Ace side. But then you look at the other side, and things are looking a little bit different. Things are looking very unique when you have Turtle Troop running this Neon that we haven't seen in a long time. I think when I think Neon on Lotus, I think Cloud9 last year, Leave, and running it in a very unique style. Corey on this Neon is something new to us, and that's why I'm not so sure how confident they're going to be feeling. They have to be right if they want to push it to map number 3, Gompers, but it's I want to give the benefit here, and I want to give my vote to Winthrop closing it in 2.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to agree with you too. I think Nasi, we saw the potential of what Nasi can do on an initiator, and the potential of what they can do playing on the defense and getting these super important early picks to just give themselves some sort of win condition. And I think that's going to play really heavily against the Neon and the aggressive play style that is going to have to come through from Corey if we do get to see that really come into action. And I think that's scary, right? Like, they know how to play with their util when it comes down to Winthrop. They know how to keep this team scared and back and afraid of taking sites, of taking that space. So most definitely something that I'm looking out for.
I'm trying to look it up, but I can't quite seem to find it. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say FaZe ran this Neon comp last year in Challengers of quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
So I think there could be some level of hey, we did this before and it wasn't unsuccessful. So I think that it's just one of those situations that, kind of like we were talking about with Double Initiator, you're not really looking at Neon as a true duelist on this map. If this does come through, it will be used more like an Initiator, using the fast lane to block off some of the lines of sight, trying to jump in towards A, or in particular over towards the C part of the map. So I think that's going to be the interesting part about this, is if they find success kind of doing what they had done in a lot of ways from what we saw from last year. So it's a curious point, but I think you're absolutely right. We don't see it very often. There was only a couple of instances where we really looked at it and said, wow, this is like game changing. So it's like a very thin margin, and maybe one of those things that could be, again, another difference maker here towards possibly seeing a map 3 or not at all.
And it's just the way that these two teams have been showing us and building up to be with these compositions. We see a Winthrop that is more likely than not going to be running the standard, proven, well-thought compositions. On the other side, as well, well-thought, but in their own way. That's what we saw last week with Turtle Troop running a solo Yoru Online. We saw the Neon that we were talking about. We're seeing these different things that are, it seems to me, really adjusting to the team itself, to what works for every individual player, and to the team itself to get that success, Gompers.
I agree, honestly. I do feel like it has been kind of that trend where there isn't a set role. It's just, what can we do to excel the most on this map? What can we do to give you the comfort and the space that you're looking for to have these very, very star moment plays where it gives the team some sort of conversion. It gives the team that win condition. And I think that's the most important thing for both of these teams, especially. I don't see a set role. I see ideas behind it. I see just executions and things that they've been planning. So I am excited because Turtle Troop, again, like, they are a team that likes to play weird. They are a team that likes to have these weird compositions and try new things. So most definitely, I am looking forward to that.
And another point as well to mention is that we, compared to Sunset, for example, that we didn't really see last week from any of them, for this map of Lotus, we got to see it. And for both of the teams, it was very, very close. It was Winthrop winning it 15-13, so going all the way to overtime, and then for Turtle Troop 13-11, avoiding the overtime. So I think we can expect that kind of game for this one too, Shift. I think we, based on what we just saw on the map number 1, based on how these two playstyles are going to match, it can be another one of those very, very close maps.
And again, I think the difference makers are going to be marginal. You know, we could be looking at another map where, because you won the pistols more than your opponent, that's why you won the map. Like, the play styles are going to be very uniquely different. So I'm excited to see, again, if there's going to be advantages based on the differences in those agent comps, or is it just going to be who executes better? It very well may come down to that. We'll have to find out.
Well, it's time to find out and see how these two teams are going to face. If this is going to be a 2-0 for Winthrop, are we going to go to a map number 3? I'll send you guys to the agent select.
I will say, if it is a 2-0 for Winthrop, even if it's a series win for Winthrop, none of us on the talent team predicted it in our predictions on social media. And I'm here for the drama. And it's just one of those situations, again, where it's just like, who is going to be the number 2 team in this group? Because at the moment, it's just not easy to pick really anybody at the moment. So Winthrop will be coming out, same composition as we would expect, and Turtle Troop does the exact same thing. That breach with the Neon. It's going to be fault lines and fast lanes all the time here on this attack.
Yeah, moves back on the fade. I'm seeing pretty much a big similarity here. Obviously, the difference being Nasi now taking that Omen control. So Initiator really only relying on moves to make these moves. But again, the Neon from Corey, something we have been expecting, something that I'm super, super excited to see. Although, with that being said, how well is it going to work out with obviously these aggressive plays that Winthrop like to play with? Is it going to be the same thing on Lotus? Because I feel like there's a lot more forgiveness on Lotus if you do want to push out down A and maybe get some of these early picks with the Rays and moves combo, right? And so it is something pretty risky, but I'm looking forward to how these combinations and, you know, the plans that they've made for this Neon are going to work out, especially with that breach. I think that's going to be super powerful.
Expect this. The sites are going to get messy because there's going to be
a
litter of utility all over the place. Smokes, fault lines, fast lanes, recon bolts. I mean, it's going to be an absolute mess.
Yeah.
So the same appointment, kind of talking about that, I wouldn't be surprised if Winthrop tries to play again for retake. Just let them spend things like fault line, fast lane. Let them get some control, and then we'll respond with a little bit of our own. The only big difference here is the fact that you are running a Killjoy with a Viper. So it does kind of force your hand a little bit to have to play around that utility, but it'll just be curious to see where they set all that utility up. That's where I'm really kind of pointing my focus towards here in these opening rounds.
Yeah, keeping things pretty tight, especially now, honestly, with B-Dog starting off early and trying to gather whatever's going on at B. But I like this 4-man push coming through from Winthrop. It's very, very on brand for what we've been seeing in terms of what this team is capable of.
Fast lane, fault line, right on through the cut to waterfall of all things. And oh boy, Jerk is in trouble. I mean, you just don't expect that. A little blindside drive-by right there from Corey for first blood. Spike will be planted, and well, there is some utility behind this mound setup. It's going to make life difficult for Winthrop trying to re-break it.
There.
Yeah, they've actually set the Prowler up too, so they know where some of these players are residing. Of course, reposition slowly taking way. And leaving only 2 players on site. They've zoned them out of the way. And it's up to Winthrop now, honestly. Infiltrator making some good shots happen.
Opening trade decent. B-Dog trying to run away. A little bit of help from Adder nearby. Fault line. Oh my goodness. It gets earned at just like the most beautiful moment ever. Are you kidding? I don't know if we could get a replay of that again, but like B-Dog's like, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Wait a second. Fault line's ready. And that gets 2 eliminations. Oh, it's sick.
Crazy shots coming through from Adder, honestly. You gotta... Yeah, let me see that again. Roll that back.
Yeah.
That's gotta hurt, man. Like, Adder was pretty much on top of his game, and that's one of the reasons why they just got to run away with a round like that. But yeah, Turtle Troop starting off strong, and we talk about the importance of pistol rounds and how that lead can really give you some leeway there, and it's pretty much showing.
And I think just to kind of really speak to this, we expect that the differences in these play styles will be very, very unique. But for Winthrop, they're going to have to adjust if they do find themselves dealing with too many problems off of this fast lane fault line kind of setup, because it does create so much deterrent towards setups, because it just literally takes up 90% of both of the 3 sites that we have here on Lotus. So this round, pretty much throwaway, just to kind of speak to it plainly. But as we get deeper and deeper into this half, I'll be curious to see how Winthrop handle this immediate pressure out of what is essentially a double initiator comp.
Shadows traveling.
No, leaving the smokes to take up some of that space there, but Corey's just waiting by. Especially as the smoke dissipates. I mean, that could be a sign of its own, but with classics and everything, Winthrop just waiting to die by Spike.
Yeah, pretty much. Stellar on the outside, make it away with a second here. Well, swatches from the knife, and moves will be able to punish, so a couple of eliminations will come through. We did the only one to survive, so this quote-unquote bonus will have to be purchased into just a touch for Troop. Still, though, with 2 spikes being planted, I wouldn't be surprised to see things like Bulldogs and maybe a couple of rifles being purchased in here, depending on what they want. And for Winthrop on the other side, full purchase, full armors. Here we go.
Purchasing pretty heavy into this too, honestly. Actually, maybe not. Yeah, Bulldog, the Vandal coming in though from Adder. Set alongside to Corey. So this is going to be interesting, especially with the Neon kind of taking that into play with one person on A side. This might work out, honestly, in favor of Turtle Troop, unless this flank comes in at a really good time. But of course, Cypher kind of keeping that backside locked.
Nice snake bite play. Gucci, a little bit of utility just to kind of create a little bit of time and space for this flank to come through. Trapwire will probably deter most of this, and it does get destroyed, so Spike will be planted. Well done. Gucci just holding inside the dark cover and eliminates Corey, who did have the hero rifle. B-Dog will pick that up, but still that exchange of hands kind of keeps this post plant from really extending beyond the site in any form. And oh boy, they're going to try to push into Gucci here. I love this call from Troop. Jerk out super long range, trying to hold them topside ropes, and is doing a really nice job of it. Damage being tallied. B-Dog only able to find 1, and it all rests with him and Stellar as they try to lock down this 2v3. Pressure on the Spike, and whoa, what a shot from B-Dog. Little run and gun headshot. Now a chance to upgrade over to a Vandal, but moves is sticking. The wall bangs are tagging, but not dealing enough damage. And the Eagles get on the board.
Still waiting.
Bringing themselves 1 up. and above and shutting down anything TTR was willing to offer, but they did manage to get a couple picks of their own, so economy kind of scattered, honestly, leaving this to a weird buy. You got Guardians, you got a Judge coming up, and especially with these half shields. So Turtle Troop, you would say they do have a slight advantage when it comes down to this round, and so much ultimates that could just come through, especially if they just farm these orbs, honestly. Stellar with the Nightfall getting prepped up. Now especially Adder with the Neural Theft, so keeping that in mind as well.
And the thing about it, I'm glad that you brought up the ultimate orb conversation, because there's really not much Winthrop can do to stop these orbs from being collected. Although, oh my goodness, the Prowler doesn't check the only corner through door? Hello? Jerk is gonna get a double for absolutely nothing. And now Moobs will try to reestablish the defense with the Prowler out. Gucci through the hole. Should be able to get another. Not going to be it as he gets beat to the punch, but Infiltrator will get the final 3. And I just can't believe that Prowler doesn't look to its right.
They didn't. They just let it slide. It's okay. Winthrop University around that, honestly, should have gone in the opposing side's favor, working out even better for them. Winthrop are keeping themselves in the game and keeping themselves locked. I love... I do really like this Viper wall, though. Maybe sitting down a bit more for some sort of retake potential, but...
There.
All the while, pretty aggressive take on A.
And this is the thing about it, like, if Winthrop want to contest this position at this A main ruined site, they have to commit a lot to get there. Because if you forfeit the wall, try to get a little bit more of a cutoff, then you lose the ability to kind of hold off the execute.
Yeah.
Paranoia gets put into the picture, though, and a little bit of a split focus as Moobs and Nasi both come away with one each, and that's not how I expected that initial to go. A little spam through the smoke will work out, and Winthrop will hold not just the numeric advantage, but also the weapon advantage on top of that.
Actually getting caught out as well, so you got the Prowler giving away the location, slow reposition, but it doesn't matter. Stellar with a beautiful headshot just to clear things up. Maybe just a tad bit, though. Nasi still up top with Gooch following slowly behind. Beautiful shots and a big clear. Already Winthrop taking that 3-2.
Yeah, but at least you get the plant, though, of your troop on what is essentially Sheriff buy round, so not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Forcing out one purchase, again, it's kind of a moot point, so we'll let that just kind of sit idly. And it's going to be curious. I think that, you know, again, just the chess game that comes through here will rely a lot on if Winthrop feel like they have to commit tons of resources to try to stop these early plays, especially towards the A side of the map. What will they sacrifice? What will they forfeit? How will they manipulate things like the Viper setup or the Killjoy setup to try to control that space? Because otherwise, your only other plays are things like Prowlers, Haunts, and Paranoias with Infiltrator bursting through that, which, to be fair, he is a showstopper, and that may not be all the realm of possibility here in round number 4. Math.
That's why we're here talking, not doing the counting work, but...
Where did I get 4 from? It's 3-2. What an idiot.
Technically now round 6, when you think about it, but...
Let me save myself. If they want to get their 4th round... Wow.
It's okay. I mean, probably more okay for TTR at the moment. They're honestly just chilling, waiting by tons of damage set down on moves, and it's a nice stall for an out. Pretty much captured some of these players. Beautiful paint shell to take in. And now, of course, I mean, Rolling Thunder making it even harder.
Well, the thing is, we've used a Nightfall towards C and now a Rolling Thunder to B, and the defense is still perfectly set up for this. Oh, what is happening? Spaghetti on the floor. Barely cooked. Nasi gets 3. Adder trying to still work this through with Weeded, but I mean, those are some questionable ultimate usage.
Gooch had a big play there with the util alone. Honestly, that was so much coverage, leaving Weeded with now, I mean, possible to. Looking for something more, but it's Adder holding down towards the back of sight.
What?
They pretty much just ended off, and that's insane. Nasi had such good potential at keeping this site, especially with the beginning couple picks that they had originally gotten, but it just turned around in seconds, which is insane. Gooch had such a great play there on the defense, and you got to see it. Nasi playing off the smoke, playing off of that decay, but then, of course, all it takes is a millisecond for Weeded to take things back.
Here's what just happened. Winthrop didn't get baited by the Nightfall. They didn't get baited by the Rolling Thunder. But they did get baited by a fake plant with Showstopper at the ready. That's one that really is very painful. I mean, you have to be thinking, if you're Winthrop, like, wow, we just absolutely masterclass these guys. And then you get baited out by a spike plant. Unreal.
Reading into their audience, or their opponents more so. But yeah, Nasi's a smoke demon at that, so have to be slightly scared when it comes down to what's going to happen when they find some site infiltrator, tons of intel to use to shut down, and they find at least one, a possible second. Then Nate just a step back.
Oh, and the fadeaway Kobe. Corey drops, and it's so sneaky. This is possibly going to be 4 rounds that Winthrop have won. I don't want to say anything too soon because, well, we saw what happened last round, but 3 of the 4 round wins would be off of Turtle Troop just not clearing corners, which easier said than done to be sure. Spike Planus, this one not done yet, but Infiltrator has tallied every kill in the round to this point. Nasi following, and, well, we did. He is by himself, and here come the troops. Wow. So yeah, that's 3 out of the 4 rounds for Winthrop have been won because Turtle Troop just did not clear a particular corner. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's on their fault, but that has literally been win condition for Winthrop to this point.
Winthrop, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, maybe, yeah. It is a lot of those angle clearings. And not to mention, I think Gooch has so much control over everything that's going on over TTR. And you can kind of see it, like they set themselves back a bit on the side of Turtle Troop when those smokes go up, and it just becomes even more of a confusion of what do I do now? I can't push past this smoke. I don't know what's going on the other side. There's not a lot of info gathering util other than the Prowler that we could possibly throw out from that fade. So it is kind of that guessing game, especially moments like these where Infiltrator just gets a hell of a shot just coming through with the paint shell alone. So, you know, teamwork definitely looking even stronger as the games go on for Winthrop.
Yeah, very much so the case. Lockdown at the ready, Viper Spit at the ready. Would anticipate seeing it here in this round, especially with a little bit of an aggressive push from Gucci, clearing out over towards Mounds. Infiltration, the same thing, front side B. Finger guns out though, and hold on a second. This aggression from the defense will give away a couple of weapons to TTR. Gucci in trouble as well, and Corey's just zapping him away. Still, plenty of charge at the ready here too. Nasi will be red. Trying to teleport over, and almost the power slide into Corey. Jerk in the 1v2 will clean it up. And a saved round for Winthrop in what was looking mighty fine for Corey.
Just closed it off. That is amazing. Jerk literally just ended it with a simple refrag. With a simple refrag. All it took was just waiting to bait your teammate. It's crazy. And that's great though. Winthrop, they never give up. And I think everybody here honestly has had like a moment where the situation is dire. They need to win the 1v1, but they're so good under that pressure that it is honestly kind of amazing how they can just handle so much pressure in a 1v1 situation where you lose this. Honestly, you could leave TTR coming back tenfold.
Wow. Scary moment, mitigated. Now into what we've kind of already known over towards this A hit. The difference here is Winthrop, after kind of walking towards Mound last round for free, will take extra steps forward this round. So they will have to play a little bit of retake over towards A, but that's fine. You got lockdown, you got fire, so you got Nightfall, you got all the right tools to do it. Just comes down to, will this flank get red at all? Because they're going to have to move quickly with this lockdown being spent so early on.
Yeah, but they're honestly expecting where everybody is from Winthrop. They have a pretty good idea as to what they need to push. Not expecting Weeded, though, to make some sort of moves to take themselves out of that position, but it's moves to take some clearing. And of course, on the defense, it makes it so much easier. Winthrop just pushing themselves inside of enemy territory and finding that win, finding that defusal.
That's freaking beautiful. I mean, that was legitimately the perfect post-plant breakdown with the tools that are available. maybe it's a little bit rushed because of how fast Turtle Troop get on the site and secure the plant.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that as it's being planted, the trap wire on the backside has to be deleted. So like it forces you to have to hit the execute button maybe a second or two earlier than you'd like to, but the setup for it, absolutely freaking masterclass. Nightfall forces out all of this extra. I got to get away from this position at Ruins. And wouldn't you know it, the defense from the other side of the site, get 3 lines of sight deep. That is absolutely freaking perfect from Winthrop.
Yeah, TTR taking the timeout, which I think perfect timing to do so, to be honest, because Winthrop are going on a streak that I feel like mostly is just boosted by the egos. Like you see Killjoy taking in a 1v1. I believe it was Gooch. Actually, no, yeah, Jerk taking in a clutch, Gooch taking in a clutch, Nazi taking in clutches left and right, and a lot of it is just honestly these 1v1s that are being won out to keep this team alive, especially with the Util coming through from Viper. I feel like is a pretty big issue playing against that, and Infiltrator throwing nades left and right. It's almost impossible.
Well, keep in mind here, Gompa Chomper, we gave away a 5v2 if you're Winthrop.
Yep.
Like, this could be a 7-2 half right now with another eco on the way for Troop. So, I mean, all things told, outside of that one fumble in round number 6, this has been perfect for Winthrop outside the pistol. So, it's really been a comfortable setup, and that was kind of, you know, my only real worry is that, yeah, Winthrop may not have this most stellar record on this map, but they've played it a lot, and they've found success on this composition in particular in the past. And honestly speaking, from the other side, just to kind of give the evaluation, outside of Corey's one overdrive round, there has not been enough isolation on these sides with the fault lines and fast lines, save the pistol and the anti-eco.
A slow approach to this is best, especially with Wall causing these issues. So I do believe TTR on the right approach here, though. Infiltrator gonna get very, very feisty with a shorty just sitting down within smoke.
Paranoia comes out, but that's fine. He was already in a dark cover anyway, so he couldn't see much to begin with. Operator will be spent back out as the dark cover starts to fade. Here comes the re-hit. Spy cam was up for a moment for Adder. Not sure if he was able to see too much, though. And honestly, Moobs is taking his time coming over because he's worried about alert. So now the execute with that one of the clearance will start to come out. Corey holding up top, though. Goes completely unchecked. Now Stellar from the other side. Oh, my goodness. Only 2 will drop. And that's how Turtle Troop win one of their first rounds, is with 1 Guardian and 1 Sheriff getting 4 kills. Unreal.
High respects, because for some reason I've noticed a trend where the ecos are always the strongest rounds for whatever reason it might be, but obviously that was a good setup coming through from Corey too, and Stellar just nobody was paying attention, and that's the advantage of having kind of honestly a split take onto A and playing off of it. At that point it really was just the timing and understanding and the call outs that made everything work out the way that it did for Turtle Troop. But looking for something more is Winthrop getting aggressive. First engagement taken by Infiltrator.
And I'm here for this. I mean, you have gotten this entryway through C for the defense of Winthrop pretty much every round for the last 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So why not keep going for it until Turtle Troop send some of their early utility to have to make you back out. So really like the idea of it. First blood tallied, 5v4. Nightfall is still ready here, so Troop do have some tools to try to clear things out a touch. You'd expect that if that does get called out, Nasi will just toss the Paranoia through, and that will indeed happen. Rotation on the way through Waterfall, impeded by a smoke, but Nasi's done well to keep his life for now. Nightfall comes out a bit later. There's the Paranoia to try to respond. The mark is through. We did for first blood. Trades back and forth for both sides until Winthrop are here with the numbers. And Turtle Troop are a bit stuck on site, but are battling back pretty darn nicely. That told until Stellar finds himself last one alive in a 1v2.
Without Corey to honestly get majority of space there and just sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the team, I think they did a pretty good job at leaving themselves up for that entry. But Stellar, 30 seconds left now, trying to find a way to get this spike down without getting taken out as well.
Really, they don't face the spike plant for another multiple situation. Wow, nearly did.
Yeah.
1v2 nearly comes out, but Gucci will secure the 3rd kill in the round for himself. And with that, round 7 tallied for Winthrop. If they can get to 8, that would mark one of their best defenses in a long time, to put it plainly. I mean, when they've played this map in the past, it wasn't just the fact that they played up against VCT Esports on it last week, but they've also lost it to both the Fisher teams, in which they only found 6 defensive rounds on one of those and 3 on the other. So 8 would be a new moniker of kind of a personal record here for Winthrop.
They just continue to do the same thing. Nobody's punishing it on TTR. I mean, there have been occasions where, you know, when they push up onto site, it works out, but Infiltrator just waiting. They're using so much util to entry this.
Wow. Very well done. And again, just look at the forward focus. This is not what you would expect with a fault line, fast lane, fade utility. I mean, really, this is a huge critical error from the side of Turtle Troop. They should not be getting pressured off the breakoffs like this as quickly as they are. Infiltrator following up off the B hit. Second, Adder does respond with 1. Infiltrator, tough shots versus Stellar, but at least able to weaken it up just a touch. 2v2 we go, though. Viper would have to be vacated as the flank Shirley tries to go down here at B, but instead they wrap it out and the kill gets found. So now it's just down to Gucci for the 1v2.
Yeah, 2 flashes, though, to use in your favor. The only thing you have if you're Gooch is, yeah, a snake bite, maybe to zone these players out of a certain angle. So now Gooch knows, okay, my left-hand side is cleared. I can contest this.
Does he catch a barrel? Does he predict the corner? B-Dog is the first one up. Corner checks. Spam through the corner, doesn't fully connect, but it doesn't make a difference because Adder was on essentially a point worth of health. And I'm sure there's a little pop-off right there for a moment inside the Winthrop Esports computer lab or esports facility, whatever it happens to be, as Winthrop will take an 8-4 hack with the 1v2 Zippo clutch at the end.
Switching sides.
And now this is where things start to get different. Turtle Troop,
Correct.
they've kept themselves at bay for quite some time. Honestly, with the Neon, I think they did the best they could, especially with the playstyle of Winthrop. There was just so much push moving forward that it honestly didn't give any space to Corey to try to contest, and I think that was the biggest issue for sure.
It's just, wow. When we've seen Neon in the past, it just, the one word that I always come to when we've seen this composition is proactivity.
Yeah.
Be the ones to make the first move. And the fact that Winthrop are feeling comfortable and confident enough to push through over towards Mound at C, to push through Rebel at A, and to do it without really spending much utility, not at all how I thought this would have gone. So now Troop find themselves, like you mentioned, down, but also trying to find a way to get value out of the Neon on defense, which is often where this composition has struggled a touch in the past.
B-Dog. Noise already being made. Yeah, Winthrop just looking for distraction set play, but the cam is set down in C. So they get any information. It's a quick rotation out.
This is all about trying to flash through this wall as soon as they think that the integrity is about to drop.
Got one.
Instead, it'll just be a little bit of team fire. Paint shells, though, coming over towards C. Spy cam will read this. Cyber cages will also be popped. Adder is on the way out of here, saying no need to worry about this. We've got a 5v4. Let's just play retake. Only issue is Infiltrator has stepped super far forward, trying to use the Prowler to collect one, but Adder responds beautifully. Moves following up, though. How bold is that? 2 for moves. Knocks you over towards Waterfall side, and they read the post-plant retake perfectly. B-Dog, last one left. 1v3, just a classic. It doesn't have a Sentinel skin, so he's not going to win it. And that's enough for Winthrop to get 9.
Their teeth will chatter in
Oh my
cold
gosh, the
dark.
biggest plug for the Sentinels, man. For the Sentinel skins, that's crazy. But honestly, maybe that was the buff to have the Sentinel skin. TTR though, that's difficult. It went so well. I mean, obviously picking off that lurk, but putting so much attention towards A, honestly, was probably their biggest demise. Taking out those 1v1s. Now pistol round leading over towards Winthrop, and they love their pistol rounds. They bring it home with their pistol rounds. Biggest issue now, though, is how they're going to be able to handle TTR and the aggressive play Corey's looking for, but of course, not much to do, especially since you do have those classics in hand.
Almost feels like one of those rounds that, like, you kind of almost have to have,
Yeah.
like, if you're Turtle Troop, like, reset the eco here, it'd be incredible. And They haven't really shut down any play towards C. Problem is these weapons are formidable on the C site. Low to high goes Infiltrator, able to find 2. Third one on the corner. Corey really can't do too much with the right click, and now it's just down to the one on the flank. And well, you may as well be throwing marshmallows at that distance. Zeddy Flawless comes out, Winthrop get the double digits.
Yeah, you can tell Adder was like, hold on, guys, I'm almost there. Hold on, guys, I'm almost there. Everyone gets taken out, and you just got to run it down at that point. So a bit of patience there. I did see TTR definitely trying their absolute best to look for something, and they honestly did lure these players in to take these 1v1s from the side of Winthrop. But again, it's you know, a Guardian versus a Classic, and the shot's definitely not really comparable in terms of that damage. So trying the best with what's due. Winthrop, though, are absolutely on a stomping ground when it comes down to it. Tons of util, though, expended.
Yeah, and I was about to say, and this is the thing, is like, why did we not see these breakoffs on the offense for Troop? Like, this is, to be fair, that's going to be a really hard lesson learned for Winthrop. That is what this defense will do best, is spend, again, initiator utility to control something like Z-Mounts or A Rebel. So, like, they just have to be prepared to counter stun or counter flash or do something to hold that back, because it's in your face immediately. There's no way that you just react to it. You have to pay some respect to the fact that that could be a play every round for Troop defensively.
I'm not too surprised by what just happened. Everybody just got taken down, but to be fair, it was Winthrop on the bonus. So, but I am seeing some ultimates starting to come online, though. Stellar getting dangerously close to that Nightfall. Honestly, probably the most dangerous ultimate that we're going to see come up possibly within this round or the next one. So this round is the most important for TTR. They need to take this one in.
Yes.
Winthrop win this, economy's down. There's a big issue there, of course. TTR,
It's one of those things that sometimes the prophecy is told, and the only words that you could say at the end of a round when we call it is Lisan al-Gaib, literally as it was foretold. Same setup for TTR, immediately countered. All they gotta do is just wait a little bit longer, make sure they don't do that, and you should be fine. So now a very early 5v3. If you didn't catch the Dune 2 reference, I'm upset with you. Not just you, Gompers, but anyone out there who didn't. But
Spike down A.
I mean, putting that aside,
I have the spike.
I didn't understand the 2-2 reference, but it's okay. I'll beg for your forgiveness later. Infiltrator. I mean, getting taken down already quickly, but surely it's up to Stellar to make this happen. Nightfall comes down, and now they're tethered down. I mean, they pretty much know where one of these players are. I don't think they understand where Jerk is, but of course, gathering that information. 6 bullets left, but a wraparound coming through, and they don't know. What? But they get it regardless. It's Stellar to close this down. 10-6 for TTR.
Clutch.
Excuse me? 4 for Stellar, and he gets. Is that technically a 1v4? Did he get all 4 of those after everyone else already perished? Regardless, that's the second round that Winthrop have dropped a 3-man advantage in. And now the eco completely gets reset off of that. You have to go into a half-buy situation if you're Winthrop, and all of a sudden this map goes from out of reach to possibly down 3 if you're Troop. Wow. There's no way he pulls that off.
They just ran away with it.
I mean, it's just like the entire opening setup is spoiled, and you're gonna let Stellar go 1v4 on you? Like, what?
Oh, and they're running it down too. Corey is not having too good of a time though. Gooch shuts that down, so kind of lose out on that duelist play. And that was the active
Spike planted.
first plan that they had. Of course, Spike being planted down. Now TTR having to find a way to get this retake in.
Paranoia lands. Interval theft gets spent, and it feels like it's only a matter of time before they get a read on not just where everyone is, but how they want to break this down, especially with Jurk kind of out of the picture here.
One enemy remaining.
Isolation towards Nasi's good. Adder will immediately jump on and try to get the defuse underway. Already halfway. Nice tap comes out to at least make this a little bit more punishing, but the defuse is more than comfortable, and there is that foretold scoreline. Just down 3 now for Troop. Should be a full purchase coming up next, though, for Winthrop.
Close to taking it home too. Honestly, I think here might be the best time to farm some of these orbs. especially when you're gooched. Like, a slow work up towards A, especially with this wall that they have prepped up, gives you that Viper spit. And you can use that, especially with such low contest on A site. Like, once they realize this is a good go for Winthrop to bring that 11-7 into fruition.
Yeah. Because if you lose this one, you're kind of reset again. And all of a sudden, you start to give Turtle Troop a lot of economy to play off of from this defensive side. So this is a very critical round for both teams. Opportunity for Troop to really string things together, of course, but for Winthrop, it's about just making sure you don't find yourself on this buy-save cycle. And this is an interesting setup. Troop looking to kind of fault line through the door and then maybe follow up with a fast lane from the top side at A to get onto the site. Yeah, it's exactly what happens. Corey with the cracked movement. He's just running and gunning. 2 come through. Fault line kind of keeps the rest of this post plant way away from the site. And now they have to go quickly. Stellar's already hopped on and no one can come close. Troop pull out a flawless. And now we're down 2 with a bank account that would make a Swiss banker blush. They are all loaded with cash.
They won that the moment Corey took out Gucci, because they were ready to set up that Viper spit. They were ready to lock down the round, and it just gets shut down immediately. And I think Corey read into that perfectly and understood how dire the situation was. And that's the beauty of it, right? Having Corey on that knee and having Corey be that confident duelist to honestly take this team down. But as for this round, I mean, pretty much loading up that ultimate. Finger guns, possible usage, pretty aggressive on the A.
Wow, how quickly the map has changed. I mean, holy smokes, just as much as we were crediting Winthrop for coming back after losing the pistol in the follow-up for taking essentially 7 rounds in a row, Troop is now doing the exact same thing. And it's just, how do you use this economy to win a round if you're Winthrop? It just feels like someone's gonna have to do something crazy, and I think you look first and foremost at, can they get a spike plant for a Viper's Pit in Judge combo? That feels like the best option.
Nobody on B, but of course, kind of given away when you look at it. Infiltrator is not playing around when it comes to the angles, and I think they might just be able to find even more here, but so much just being pushed down to it, and it's B-Dog to clear.
They can use a fast lane to try to break up this setup a little bit. Ooh, I like the spam idea coming through. Fingers, a little arthritis in the hand for Corey. Adder steps over. Corey, after the reset, finds moves. This is all about, can they take down Gucci, which they are able to. Jerk deep, not able to do really anything at all. And the post-plant breakdown works out really, really well, and that's a lot of credit to show the strength of the overdrive from Corey.
Honestly, change that needs to be made is just shut down Corey. They have been the main issue starting up on the defense, especially with the preparations that, I mean, they've kind of been setting up. They've been leading Corey to success because they know that's the only way to keep this team alive, especially in these dire moments. Winthrop just can't handle that pressure, especially with the ultimate coming down. Now they don't have that Viper Spit anymore. This is a dire time to really reestablish what you want to do within the game. And I think, honestly, yeah, that's exactly what the goal is, but just needing to focus up a little bit more and honestly not be afraid of that aggression. Playing against it is probably the best bet, like they have been doing before, but they just stopped.
Golly, and it's one of those situations, like, I this is something that as commentators we go down the path of, but like the mental check that Winthrop could possibly be on, giving away not just a 5v2 in the first half, but a 1v essential 4. All of a sudden you're on this buy save cycle, and the defense is really coming to life here. And it's getting more and more comfortable. So an expensive round right there for Winthrop in the form that they had to use the Viper's Pit out. You're still way away from a showstopper. And honestly, and during this timeout, you got to be thinking, how do we want to use this lockdown to break up what has been essentially just snowball floods from Troop on these retakes?
Yeah. There's absolutely no util bait being done either. Like, they kind of just fall right into it, and then TTR are actively playing off of that. There's nothing that Winthrop are doing that are kind of leaving TTR speechless. It's we are going to catch someone in this. We are going to get someone in this fault line. We are going to see somebody when this smoke drops, because they are confident of it. Of course, just still keeping watch just in case.
They could get baited into this, though. Surely they check this.
Variable removed.
Surely they check this. Fault line a little bit too late. Corey has to commit. Does well. Relay bolt comes out. We did. Should be able to follow up. And yeah, it's an even exchange. Rolling Thunder also committed here, though. That is not going to be able to be punished. And now all of a sudden, Winthrop are really just missing out on, is Adder actually part of that play? That's the only tally they have not been able to come across yet.
Yeah, and this is great, honestly. They took out so much util on TTR while putting barely any of their own. So the investment that TTR just did isn't worth the return. They're not going to get much off of this post-plant scenario, and now all they have to play with are those 2 flashes and a possible dark cover. So now Whedon's down, so there is no dark cover. You pretty much have to play with whatever you got.
What a bold push through for Infiltrator. Does get traded back through, though, so 2v2 we go. Moves seen in the corner. Does Nasi get checked? Surely Winthrop don't go back to the tried and true, just hiding in the corner. No, Adder's able to read him. Counter flash comes out and moves. Is able to help out what looked to be a fallen soldier there for a moment. Nasi, who looked like he was dead to rights, but Moob steps out, finds the double, and Winthrop back on their winning ways up to 11.
That's brutal. Absolutely brutal. Turtle Troop pretty much just played right into the hands of what Winthrop wanted. And it was the bait, it was the util bait that we needed ever so desperately so they could stop this constant harassment happening down on the sites. And it worked out beautifully. Now lockdown as well to keep them off of the site and pushed onto the extremities. And I think this is going to work pretty well if Infiltrator can manage to find that showstopper.
Yeah, here's the difference though. Troop is looking to get aggressive for the first time right in front of B. Oh, this could get messy real quick. They check it though. Uh-oh, now all of a sudden Turtle Troop is a bit caught. Have to kind of hold their ground. There's not really an exit yet. Weeded's holding on one angle, Corey the other, and B-Dog is kind of playing counter flash right now, thinking there's going to be a follow-up, but Winthrop say, oh, okay, fine, have it. We don't need mid. That's fine.
Oh, the cam is such a giveaway, but they just gave that up. Actually looking to see something else, and this is where timing becomes important because they're stuck on mound, but they're still not checking.
Think about this though, Gompers. The whole reason for this backup is not just because of the kill of noise. Look how deep this Viper's wall is. And there's no way that Stellar can see if anyone's coming A, so they get a little bit cold feet up towards mid. Defense will have to reset back. The lockdown gives a little bit of this away, but again, not a full commitment yet. So is it being baited? And well, B-Dog will make sure there's no at least lurk through the middle of the map. So now that the lockdown expires, one player detained, sure, but there's going to be an opportunity for Troop to try to get back into this really quickly. Showstopper pushes the front lines, but he's getting chewed apart by a nanoswarm. Paranoia. Nightfall also coming through. Trooper going to be able to extend the timer and get Infiltrator out of position. Just down to breaking down this post play, Gompers.
There was so much being put into that, but Corey's now slowly finding way onto site. Of course, Paranoia takes place, but it's B-Dog trying to keep the team alive. TTR, they need this round, but they're not going to get it just yet. They finally take it and steal it back. It's that 10-11 with Winthrop. They're slowly bringing that match point back, but honestly, TTR, they're coming a bit quicker.
Wow. And that really comes down to one thing. First and foremost, the lurk gets taken care of, but then a follow-up because of where the lurk gets taken care of at in B. Infiltrator says, I gotta pop this showstopper because the retake is imminent. He's thinking that as soon as he gets back in towards site, he needs to make sure no one hits through waterfall. He's also the one responsible for the backside of the site. And the problem is, no one was coming. So the nanoswarm was a well-placed one over towards waterfall to chip him down to damage, and then really, there's just no follow-up available off the showstopper in any regard. Good patience from Turtle Troop. And now we're back to that buy-sell sequence, and Troop are starting to feel confident, stepping forward in towards rubble. They will take over this front side of A.
Oh, and that smoke's going to go down. That's going to be desperate measures for Winthrop to back themselves off, but they've wasted a pretty good amount of util on the side of Infiltrator there.
Toxin screen down.
Oh man. I mean, it's just, this has been a map of Valorant.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. Here comes the utility on the approach over towards C. Counter flash, really not going to combine too much. Cyber Cage is also just a minor distraction. And Adder, ooh, trying to step a bit further into this. Looks like they want to try to contest this route coming up towards the ramp side. Nightfall comes out, and that will be enough to try to push back most of Turtle Troop, except for B-Dog. who does get caught, and a follow-up kill means that Moobs can go for the plant, unless Corey
Spike
can
planted.
sneak through and find the players on exit. First shot good. You've got a low health pool on Nasi deeper. Can Winthrop hold from inside the site? They really don't have Jerk in a position to help out through Mountain, especially with the fast lane being placed.
Standing.
But the kills still come out, just down to Stellar. Can he find a way to find another clutch? Not this time. Winthrop take a half-buy win, and now they're on series point.
Match point.
Despite the match point, this is where the real test lies. What are you thinking? What are you going to do? Are you going to honestly play the way that you should be playing? Or are you just going to let the nerves get to you? I feel like here is where really the mental game starts. You know it's one more round, but then sometimes, honestly, that kind of does take its toll. Of course, though, Viper looking to keep that wall intact there from Gucci, wanting to bait out some of this util.
And again, just very patient, making sure there's no immediate hit. Coming through the outside at C or deep towards this A site. Prowler aggressively through mid. First time we've seen this from Winthrop. Also deal with the trap wire, so Adder's gonna have to be on high alert. He's the only thing guarding in towards B, and the first shot is immaculate.
And the cam's still there. Not only are they actively gathering information B, but they're also helping out B-Dog towards that C site. So they're well covered, regardless of wherever Adder wants to go. They have that free will and that power. But yeah, Infiltrator, not looking too good.
Just comes down to the timing. I think Corey saw a barrel. Oh, doesn't matter. Little snap-on. Returned in kind by Weeded. But the middle of the map is wide open, and a little bit of defensive utility will have to be spent just to make sure B stays safe. And as that happens, Gucci takes an extra step over towards A stairs. Could cut off this defensive rotation. It's again all down to timing. Oh, not like this. Finally, Gucci able to convert. But now on the other side, hold on, Stellar's gotten his way into sight. And he can reinforce to make sure the spike doesn't get planted.
My ultimate is ready.
Oh my goodness. The way that TTR are playing is actively reminding me of ants. Like, you're just finding ants everywhere and you want to get rid of them, but there's just an infestation. And it's almost impossible. Like, B-Dog here now putting out some of the util to stop the plant from coming down. But I think that might have just been the best bet, leaving this down to a 1v1 spike. Not there! But it's Stellar with the Zippo clutch. The timing onto that just to stall. B-Dog knew they needed to die to let Stellar shine.
22 and 16, and it feels like 18 of those kills have come in 1v multiples. Stellar living up to the name. What a save. And now the question comes down to, can Winthrop still afford a full buy? No, they can't. Oh, man. Yeah, get your footage, get your content recorded right now. Because this is it. I mean, not it, but I mean, if Winthrop don't find a way to close this thing out in regulation, you have to think their minds are going to be spinning in all of the odd man situations they've had post-plant to secure this map.
Yeah, and there's so much stress relying, honestly, on Nasi being that IGL. Like, it's this call that makes or breaks whether or not we go down to OT, right? So not only that, you have to make the right decision. And you'll also have to make sure you're not letting your team down. And I think overall, that's one of the biggest stresses of this mental game is figuring out what is the correct call. So putting that into perspective from Winthrop, it's difficult. But I think, honestly, they've exceeded expectations so far. So regardless, they should be proud of the work that they've put out. Turtle True, honestly, being put in an uncomfortable position, 12-11, it's the match point they've been fighting for so hard to bring themselves down to that OT. So for both sides, it's honestly, make it or break it.
This feels like it's going to be an aggressive setup for the side of TTR to get the extra orb for B-Dog to get Rolling Thunder. You're going to give away tons of space at C. You're going to give away a lot of space over towards A as soon as Stellar maybe throws one Prowler. Actually, it's going to be the Haunt instead. And interestingly enough, there isn't a burst over through the middle of the map. So B-Dog will stay on a stinger, of all things. Just likely to hold here through the connector to B?
No, they don't want anything just yet, but they've given away B-Dog's location. That's good. They've set back something for now, but they know, I mean, the possibility of someone being there is very high.
I'm really okay. Overdrive out. Corey trying to block things over towards tree side. Relay bolt comes through, but WU just hands it back. That's enough for Gucci after the orb plus the kill to get the Viper's Pit. Boombot also coming up, but the Aftershock lands. That's enough for the Rolling Thunder, possibly. If B-Dog can get one more, that would do it. Stellar still holding from just outside of the ramp. Snakebite not well placed. Weeded confirms another kill, and Winthrop are a bit stuck at the moment. Inside this Viper's Pit, just comes down to can they hold it, especially with Gucci on a judge.
Oh, they can't let Adder get a pick. Adder gets a pick, that neural theft comes out, they know exactly where the Viper's hiding and where they're residing, but it's slowly coming up to that point. Yep, it's very, very game-changing to know where everybody is.
Fault line comes out, not an immediate push through though. Adder backing off the decay. It's just down to who sees who first. Nanostorm comes out. Jerk in the corner, dealt with by Stellar. Of course he has. B-Dog, he gets the elimination, but he can't pull it through because the judge has done too much. Now over to the Vandal. The spam shots were decent. Baguchi staying alive. Can he get over? Stellar on 1 HP, trying to stick it. Not gonna happen. It's 4 kills for Gucci, and Winthrop do the unthinkable. They take the win, and in 2:04.
They played their, you could see them running in the background. That is amazing. The excitement, the just overall energy of coming back from not only losing your first series in Challengers and having everybody think that this title on you of being the underdog, of being the collegiate team that doesn't belong here, completely being ripped away off of this game. Honestly, I'm heavily pleased, and I know Dryad, that was a hell of a game.
Hey, we talked about 2-0, but I think this is not the way that we expected things to go down, and I am so happy for Winthrop, though. This is, like you were saying, Gomper, is a team that people watch on week 1. They were like, oh no, they're not going to do too good, and just now they prove otherwise with a very strong team on the other side. Turtle Troop, they put up a fight, but it's just not enough at the end. 13-11 is just amazing shit.
I am completely lost for words. This has been one wild series for all of the craziest of reasons. The clutch portion, definitely one of the highlights for sure. I mean, and that's the thing about it is you look at Winthrop, and if you really wanted to kind of take and put the coach hat on, a couple of days from now, once you get a chance to reflect, is they probably missed out on this series in what, maybe 5-6 rounds between both maps that they probably should have won and are going to look back on and say, we definitely should have won. So it's one of those situations that this was actually maybe even more convincing of a series thanks to the heroics that kind of came through from Troop keeping them in the game, because otherwise this could have been a runaway for Winthrop in a lot of ways. I think the other thing about it is, for both these two squads, there were some identity issues that came by way of them picking one composition, but maybe not necessarily playing into the strengths as much as we've seen other squads do in the past. So I think that's another element that you look at and say, okay, we can definitely fine tune this because it's not the end of the road by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the second game in. So there's going to be a lot of learned lessons here for both sides. It's just, that was one hell of a series of Valorant. Oh my goodness.
That's one way to learn, I guess, for Turtle Troop, if you're talking about learning experiences, because the way that they got taken down, like you said, it was so close. Just a matter of first map, a couple pistol rounds, one pistol round could have been the difference maker. And on the second one, even changing things around, because when we jump into that second half, Gompers, you start seeing so much more of what the ideas were really looking like for Turtle Troop. You start seeing those aggressions with the neon, the assists coming through. You start to see how they really wanted to play it, but it was too late.
It was too late, and honestly, I genuinely think there maybe was a chance or two that they really could have taken it back, but at that moment it was Winthrop. They knew how this team was going to play. They let it slide a couple times. They've conditioned the team, obviously, of Turtle Troop to just feel comfortable in that play style, so they continued it, and then at some point it really did just end up in their own demise, and it started to become uncomfortable. But like you said, it was too late to change anything. It was the fact that now they had to test new theories out, but you're 11-12. How are you going to do something like that when things are so dire? Honestly, I'm heavily pleased with the performance from Winthrop. For all you haters, the first day that I voted on Winthrop, forget about you. I don't want to hear it. I mean, I didn't vote for them this week, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Okay, I lay my case.
And I also want to talk about one of the biggest win conditions that we saw today for this kind of Winthrop. It was Infiltrator. Once again, this player coming through and getting so many first kills. Did it map 1? Does it map 2? I mean, just look at the stats shift. I think that's enough. The numbers are enough, but I think we see it in game, and that is the greatest thing. You can tell how the communication works. You see him getting a kill, but then you see 4 assists, you see 3 assists. That's insane.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, and I won't lie, I kind of, look at the CVAL scene kind of like this, where often a lot of the top universities that were competing, against like the Northwoods, the Fishers, now Winthrop, of course, as well in the conversation, there were a lot of moments early on in CVAL where you just pointed to the duelist and you said, go frag, do what you want, go get kills. An Infiltrator can absolutely provide that. But I thought this map, he was not just finding the quick bursts to try to surprise and find first bloods. He was doing it as a well-functioned part of the squad. And that led to not just the assists, but also the cast percentage. And just the overall squad really got around the mentality of what Infiltrator wanted to do. And we're able to help set him up. Where on the flip side, he was able to help provide a little bit of extra time and space, maybe outside of a Rosa ult or 2 there at the end. But, such is life.
I mean... You close it out, you look good, you shine, you get a 2 against Turtle Troop, you're going to be feeling good. We're going to throw to a quick break, but this match is not over just yet.
Wow, that was nuts.
One enemy remains.
That's a lot of them.
One enemy remaining. Clutch. Last player standing. See no more. One enemy remaining. One enemy. One enemy remaining. One enemy. I knew. One enemy remaining. One enemy. Attackers win. One enemy remains. Spike planted. Enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy standing. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy. One enemy. Attackers win.
They say in life, there are no guarantees. They say a lot of stuff like that. Slow it down. Play it safe. Hedge your bets. So what? You gonna listen to that? You gonna stop because they can't guarantee you'll pull this off? No guarantee you'll win? No guarantee everything's gonna be fine? In life, you make your own guarantees. Nobody else will light your way. Start your own fire and keep it burning. And we guarantee You'll have one hell of a lifetime.
And I told you the match isn't over because, of course, we need to hear from the winners. And that winner today is going to be Moobs from Winthrop after taking the 2-0 victory against Turtle Troop. Moobs, it's good to see you. Congratulations.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's been some time. It's been some time since I last saw you, but it's good to see you here in Challengers. You get the first win. It's a 2-0 against Turtle Troop. And my first question for you here is, how does this 2-0 happen? It's something that, Turtle Troop talked about. They like running these weird compositions, so slightly different from the meta. How do you make sure that that's not going to throw you off and you're going to be able to close it out in 2?
The thing is, I think any team can throw whatever comp at us we want. We're kind of like I talked to golfers about before we played today. It's like everyone thinks we're bad. Nobody expects anything from us. So it's like we see these comps. We're like, all right, guys, let's just play our game, have fun. And, we pull out a 2-0.
And I like that you're bringing up the fact that the expectations are low, because I want to know how that feels for you. Winthrop in Collegiate has always been the favorite, or at least one of the favorites every single time for the championships. You make it all the way until the end. And now you come into a challenger scene where things are different. When you are maybe not the favorite, do you think that plays to your favor when you can just run whatever you want and there's no pressure?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, we have no pressure, right? Nobody expects anything from us, I think people would take this as a surprise, but we talked before the game. We said we can beat anyone. Take any given day, right? And especially going from Collegiate, we have a much different schedule than the other players would have. But, we put in the effort that we can. We try to work around our own schedules and playing Collegiate matches, and, now we're here.
And speaking of the schedule as well, something that I wanted to ask you was, you have no coach, right? Is that correct? You have no coach today? You didn't have any coaches?
No, we did have a coach today, and shout out to him. He helped us a lot. But we've been on a carousel of coaches trying to figure out who's best for us. And, I think today it definitely worked a lot.
Yeah, we've heard about the different changes, different coaches that you've been trying out. When you don't have somebody that has been set and from the beginning, how does it work when it comes to discipline to make sure that you guys are balancing both playing and scrimming and practicing, and also the collegiate life that you have?
Yeah. Well, so our coach definitely helps us a lot. All the ones that we went through, they've helped us take the burden off of, VOD reviewing on our own. They kind of help us, match our schedules. Like, I got to go write my final paper right after this interview. So it's like, I have a very busy schedule. But yeah, again, like I just said, it's kind of different for us. We have a different schedule. And having a coach that really cares about, like we had today, and he helped us a lot, both pre-game, during the game, and after the game, yeah, but coach makes a big difference for us.
Okay, that's great to hear. I'm gonna ask you one more thing so you can go write your paper, and how is the no hair life treating you?
It's a little bit colder every time I step outside.
Okay.
Again, when you interviewed me last time at CVAL, I had a lot of hair. It was looking good, and then Tarek had to go watch the video of us like GeoGuessr, and he's like, hey, I'll like the video. So now I'm bald. It'll take a little bit while to grow back, but it feels good. I get a couple funny looks when I'm on campus, but it's all in good spirits.
I don't think you get any funny looks. I think it's funny. And I think if they knew the context, that they'll respect. They'll understand.
I've given people 10 different stories on why I shaved my head. So it's like one person thinks that, one person thinks this.
You start like with, do you know Valorant, all the way to like, I just wanted to. If they don't know,
the ones that like again, like you said, like we're a collegiate team, we're different. There's a lot of people on campus that like recognize us or they know about us. So if they know about it, I'll be like, yeah, Tarek watched a video. Other than that, I'll be like, I lost a bet.
Okay, that's great to hear. I mean, the ball buff, I've always heard that it's a real thing, and you get the win, so I think it is looking very real. Congrats once again, Moves, on
Thank
this
you so
win.
much.
And we're gonna throw it to a break as we get ready for that second match of today. Is gonna be TSM against the Glazers.